Thank you. I'd like to call the Health and Human Services Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Green,
Present.
Alderman Guenther,
Here.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderwoman Rice,
Present.
Alderman Todd,
Present.
Chairwoman Ingrassia.
Present.
6 present, you have quorum.
Thank you. It looks like Alderwoman Martin is here.
Sorry, yes, I just couldn't unmute fast enough. Thank you.
7 present, you have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we get started, it looks like Alderwoman Tyus, okay, is going to log off and log back in. So what we'll do first is, if you've had a chance to review the minutes from the November 3rd, December 1st meetings. Does that sound right? Didn't we approve meeting minutes at the last meeting? No? Okay, thanks, Annie. So if you've had a chance to review the minutes in your folder, I would entertain a motion to pass the minutes from November 3rd and December 1st.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 3rd and December 1st.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Green,
Aye.
Alderman Guenther,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Chairwoman Ingrassia.
Aye.
7 aye votes.
Thank you so much. Alderwoman from the 1st, are you able to access your microphone with your login?
Madam Chairwoman, I think I am. Can you hear me all right?
I sure can. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So the first item up we have today is resolution number 138, which was introduced by Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman, would you like to open and say what you think is important for us to hear? And then we have a long list of some very esteemed members of the community I see ready to give us some feedback on the resolution.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much for holding this hearing. I know we're getting close to Christmas holidays. We got redistricting. We have a lot of important things before us. But for me, this was very important. I don't represent the Ville area, but with our new maps that are drawn, I will be part of what is the Ville area. I have a long history of connection with it. I worked with all the alder people since 1991 because it's the ward that's next door to me, with the 4th ward. My father-in-law was the principal of Sumner, played football at Sumner, is in the Hall of Fame. My mother-in-law went to Sumner. And there's so many great things that are happening that happened in the Ville area that I've been exposed to, including the Annie Malone parade, which I first saw in the 70s. So although I'm a transplant from Illinois, I've actually lived in St. Louis since 1978 and North St. Louis since 1986. And I absolutely love the tradition and the history that's in our community. And it has been my experience that too often people just hear about the negative things that happen in our community, and they do not get to hear about all the wonderful positive things that happen. And I was heartbroken when they moved the Annie Malone parade out of the community, and had many conversations with the people who did it, and actually don't go to that parade anymore because of that. And I think that it is time that we start to really have conversations about taking and appropriating cultural history from the communities and not having conversations with the community. And I did not introduce this resolution by myself. I actually worked with the Alderwoman from the 4th, Dwinderlin Evans. I also talked to the Alderman from the 5th, Alderman Page, because you know, down here we got to be kind of careful of stepping on one another's toes. But both of them okayed me to do this, and Alderwoman Evans is actually a co-sponsor. And the thing that was so important for me is that I've been hearing about Homer G. Phillips ever since I moved to the city of St. Louis, and I heard about the Black doctors and how they had to train there, and how that it was so important, a hospital, because although we like to think that racism is far and removed, it's been in our community for a long time. And even at the time that we built the Homer G. Phillips Hospital in the Ville, the citizens in the 1920s, 30s had voted to keep the hospitalization segregated. And so they had to have a separate hospital. And Mr. Homer G. Phillips himself gave his life fighting for civil rights. And he had fought for, when I did the history about this hospital, he actually fought and helped pass a bond issue to get the hospital there. And the history is that the white doctors, we had hospital number 1 in St. Louis, which is, that's over, is it in the 6th ward? Madam Chairwoman, I don't know, maybe it's the 7th, but it's right over there off of Lafayette. And then the white doctors wanted the hospital to be right next to that one and to keep 2 segregated hospitals. Mr. Homer G. Phillips, who was an attorney, fought for it to be in the Black community and then picked the very spot where the hospital was going to be. That was very interesting to me. He gave his life fighting for civil rights. And so, although I am very excited that there's going to be a clinic and or a hospital or whatever they're going to call it over in the 5th ward at site of the old, what is the name of the place that used to be I can't remember the name right now, but it's a site that we tore down that used to be a housing project. I'm excited about that. But I am not excited about taking that name away from a community that is struggling and is fighting to keep their identity and not having conversations with that community. I do believe that the developer and his people talked to the people in the 5th ward, but they didn't talk to the people who live in the Ville in the 4th ward. And so you missed the whole point of having communications with the community, is that of course the people in the 5th ward didn't care. That wasn't their name, but that's something that's very important to the people in the 4th ward. It's important to the Black doctors that got trained there. It was important when only Black people could only go to that hospital. So to me, it's just a very important thing that before we started snatching names and moving things, that we don't discount people. I can't imagine that we would decide to name a new neighborhood, oh, that's the Hill, or that's Dogtown, or we're going to take the name Tower Grove and put it someplace else. So I think that you have to be sensitive. And I don't mean to say that Mr. Paul McKee is insensitive. I think that he's getting bad advice from people. And I've had conversations with some of the people surrounding him before. I've never thought it was a good idea to take that name. And so when I got a chance to work with the Alderwoman from the 4th, I did. And basically this resolution, I want you to know, is not condemning him. It's asking him to come to the Board of Aldermen and have a conversation with us. And that became even more interesting when I did when I started to do research and found that when Homer G. Phillips lost his life right in the 18th ward, right on the corner of Delmar, that he had already got the money for the bond issue, and the Board of Aldermen, after he had a big funeral and people attended the funeral, that the Board of Aldermen, we gave the name to the Homer G. Phillips site that's in the Ville. So I thought that was the nexus that we should also weigh in on it. And that's why I'm weighing in on it to say that Mr. McKee and his board of directors, would they please come and have a conversation with us? It's not just me, it's the mayor of the city of St. Louis, it's the comptroller of the city of St. Louis. I will be taking the Honorable Carla May's name out because somebody gave me her name, but she didn't give me permission to use it. So I want to take it out. She didn't ask me, but I usually do my homework much better than that, but I didn't get her a permission. So I will be asking to take that out. But some of the other people, the Honorable Rasheen Aldridge of the 77th Ward, who he represents the 5th Ward as a committee person. Recently, I saw an article today that the Honorable Cori Bush, who is our Congresswoman, came out strongly in favor of the resolution. We have lots of people in the community. I see the committee woman, Caroline Moore from the 4th Ward that's here, and just a group of people that are signed up to talk about why it's important that you have conversations with the community regarding the appropriation of names. There's no legal thing that stops them from taking the name, but there is to me some moral obligations. And I don't think if Paul McGee would like it, McKee would like it if I decided to name something the Paul McGee dump without having a conversation with him. And and I see Mr. Piggy is here and his family has a well-known business. I would not ever think of appropriating their name and trying to use it someplace else without talking and having a conversation with them. So I think this is a long-term mistake in not talking to the correct people. And I am asking this board to pass this resolution out and then to send a letter to Mr. McKee and his board of directors, asking them to come in and have a conversation with the board and see if we couldn't come to some better understanding of what they're doing with this. I don't care if it's a clinic or I don't care if it's a 500-bed hospital, it's still an appropriation of a name. And I want to thank all of those who are on this committee, the Honorable Dan Guenther, the Honorable Megan Green, the Honorable Christine Ingrassia, the Honorable Annie Rice for also adding their name, because this is not a Black issue. This is a community issue about what is the right way to do things and what is kind of insensitive to do things. And so that is why I introduced this resolution and asking for support from this committee to pass it out and to ask Mr. McKee to come and have a conversation with us.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman. I'm just going to run through the committee quickly to see if committee members have any quick questions or comments before we move to the public comment period. Alderwoman.
No questions at this time, but I just want to thank the Alderwoman from the 1st for bringing this forward and having us have this very vital conversation. I think this is really important, and thank you for your work on this issue.
Thank you for being a co-sponsor.
Alderman Guenther.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just one question, I guess, for the Alderwoman from the 1st. So you're asking for Mr. McKee and some of the representatives to come to the table. I believe I read within maybe a month and 2 months ago or so that the Ville group had a community meeting and asked Mr. McKee to come. Is that correct?
That's what I was told. I wasn't at that meeting because I really, again, it's not in the 1st ward. So you know how we're careful about that, but I was asked to get in this.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, I believe that I had read that meeting was organized with the request that some representatives come to have this conversation. And from my understanding was that Mr. McKee did not show up. So that was my only question, but thank you.
That's what I was told by the group, that he wouldn't show up. So I thought that maybe since we had given the Homer G. Phillips name in the first place, we being past boards of aldermen, that maybe he would hear it a little better if we got a little bit more formal and brought something from the Board of Aldermen.
Perfect. Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you. And thank you for being a co-sponsor.
Absolutely.
Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. I just had a quick question. I can't remember this. When we voted on this, was this talked about at all, the name or the potential name rather?
I don't remember.
When we voted on the project, sorry.
No, and I supported the project, and I know a lot of people had problems with it. I supported because I agreed with the then alderperson. I don't care if it's a 1-bedroom clinic. If there's no health services there, I'm going to support that. And I know we have had our problems about how much subsidy he's gotten, and I don't always agree with that. Okay, but I did. But no, it wasn't the Homer G. Phillips anything then. It was going to be a hospital or a clinic.
Okay, that's how I remembered it. And I thought, well, maybe I, was mistaken. And so I just couldn't remember. Thank you very much. That concludes my question.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you. I have no questions, but I would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you.
Noted. Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Alderwoman, for the 1st for bringing the resolution to us. I don't have any questions at this time. I do, in reference to Alderwoman Martin's question, there was some conversation in the news about the potential name before or as it was coming through the Board of Aldermen, but I also don't recall any debate on the floor or any conversation on the floor of the board as this was coming through as to the naming. So would just agree with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for being a co-sponsor.
Alderman Todd.
First of all, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Alderwoman from the first ward. First of all, I want to add my name to the resolution. After I thought about it, I feel that since the attorney Homer G. Phillips was assassinated in the 18th ward, I do have. It does affect me. It is part of my responsibility to make sure that his name is not used in vain. I have not been keeping up closely with this due to all the responsibilities I have in the 18th ward. I usually don't even, without consulting, jump in. I'm taking this on because I do have the 18th ward is where he lived and where he was assassinated. So if anyone wondering why am I jumping in their water, but I'm not, because I just feel I cannot assure that it's not right to, there are many other names that could be taken, that could be had. I think that people outside of our community need to come to our community and get our permission, because that's a form of colonialism, and we need control of we demand control of our community because of the form of disrespect. And there are many names that could be used instead of this name, and if this name were to be given in the 18th ward, it would have to be given by the residents of the 18th ward, because I ran on my platform of maximum feasible participation and citizens driven, and this is not citizens driven when it's just done by, which I don't have the facts, done by just articles I read that were not that I was not very impressed with. Some of the things that I have read about this particular person. Let me be perfectly frank, it's not personal, but I've just read some articles in the paper that I think that I don't agree with. And so I think of all people should come to the community, including myself. I'm controlled by the community too, and the citizens. So I don't think it's appropriate for someone outside of the community to come in and just disregard the full ward. I also lived in the Ville. I went to Homer G. Phillips for illnesses. I went to school in the Ville. I taught in the Ville junior high as well as a magnet school at some which was part of Simmons. I taught at Simmons, Turner Mill, and also the Mega Magnet Marshall, as well as the Mega Magnet School or Sumner High School. So I'm tied to the Ville as a whole lifetime, and so I feel strongly that some other name should be used, and the name should be chosen by Black people. Thank you, Madam Chair. I turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, also Shane Cohen asked if we would add his name to the resolution also. And thank you, Alderman Todd.
Noted. Thank you, Alderman Todd. And now we're going to move to the public testimony portion of the hearing. We have a lot of speakers. I'm so grateful you all took time out of your day to be here. We're going to have alternating speakers who are for the resolution, then against, then with no position. There are many more speakers for the resolution than in the other two categories. So we'll pretty quickly move to just all of those speakers being for. But when I say your name, if you could just please quickly affirm that your testimony will be the truth. I'll help you through that. And then you'll have 3 minutes to testify. At the 1 minute mark, I'll let you know, I'll pop in, and I always feel rude doing this, but I'll just say 1 minute, and that way you know that you have a little bit of time to wrap it up. And looking forward to hearing from all of you. So our first speaker today is Marquise Govan. I didn't see him on here. All right. Then our next speaker against is Fred Mills. Fred, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. I'm actually, whoa.
Yeah. Do you want to take a minute to figure out your technology? We'll hang on for just a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
It seems to be on twice. I think that's.
Yeah, I think it's okay now.
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Hold on for just one moment, Mr. Mills. I apologize. Are you able to be on camera by any chance?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Are you able to be on camera?
Yes, my camera shows I'm on it.
Okay, it doesn't show on ours, but no worries. I just quickly, do you affirm that the testimony we're providing today will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Well, I'm basically here as the president of the hospital to answer any questions if there might be any. So I really would relinquish my time back and just be available for you.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll go through the committee quickly to see if they have questions. Alderwoman Green.
Thank you. I guess the first question that would come to mind is, you know, what process did you go through to determine that this is the name that you would choose for this healthcare complex?
My responsibility is basically in operations. I'm a hospital administrator, have been for many, many years. And so I can't answer that question, but I'm sure others will be able to.
Okay, so that responsibility lies on other people who made that decision that is outside of your purview.
That's correct. I was basically brought in to get the license for the hospital, do all the things we need to do in order to make it work, and be operational.
Okay. One other question I just have, because this is something that came up during debate when this was coming through the board that I'm not sure that we ever got clarity on, but is this complex accepting Medicare and Medicaid?
It will, yes, ma'am, for sure. Part of the obtaining a license in the state of Missouri is that we have to comply with the Medicare conditions of participation. And so we won't even be able to get a license until we meet those conditions. Okay. And then we will be prepared to treat Medicare and Medicaid patients.
All right. No further questions at this time. Thank you.
Alderman Guenther.
No questions at the moment.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No questions, thank you.
Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Mills, I do have a couple of questions. We have a letter, a written letter from the board of directors of the hospital, but there are no names attached to that. And I was searching around online trying to find a web page for the organization to see if I could find a list of the board of directors, and I was unable to do that. Is there somewhere that you can direct us to find that information?
You know, at the present time, we do not have a website per se. I'm sure that there will be. I'm happy to get that information to the group.
Sure, I think that would be helpful to know, who was on the board of directors. I think that helps us understand the board's connection to the community as well.
Sure.
So this is not the same as the Homer G. Phillips Health Center at 2425 Whittier Street.
That's correct. It is not.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I'm just trying to, when I'm searching around, is trying to figure out, what exactly we're here. And then the ownership of this hospital, of this complex, is it a nonprofit institution? Is it a for-profit institution?
It is a nonprofit organization. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And then is that operating also under the name Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital?
I believe that's true. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was a different ownership name or group on.
No, the name of the hospital is, and the group is the Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital.
Okay. And then, so currently it is a 3-bedroom hospital facility. What are, I guess, do you have a date of intended open at this point? It looks like the building is fairly substantially built.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be late spring, early summer. Just the process of getting a license is a considerable amount of work. And to meet the conditions of participation for Medicare. And we also are building an IT system that will help us manage all the things that need to be managed in the process.
Okay.
So at the present time, it looks like it's late spring, early summer.
Okay, and with these 3 beds that are currently existing in this phase of the hospital, is it a trauma center capable of handling level 1 traumas?
We are not a trauma center, no. And
Okay.
It is a 3-bed inpatient hospital. We also have a 15-bed bay ER. So we're bringing that kind of service to the area that really isn't there now.
Okay, so emergency room, but not trauma center.
Correct.
Okay. I think that clears up some of the questions that I have right now. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills, do you have the email address for the clerk of our board that you used for your sign up today?
Yes.
Okay, if you could email him the list of board of directors when you get an opportunity, he can make sure that the rest of us get it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Todd?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, sure thing. Our next speaker has no position on the resolution, Dan Simon. Dan, are you with us? Okay, next speaker is for Mary Parham. And then against Daryl Piggy. Daryl, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Mary, sorry, Daryl. Mary, can you hear us okay now?
Yeah. Let me
Okay,
see.
are you able to go on camera by chance? Oh,
Yeah.
there you are. Miss Ali, are you taking the lead this morning or this afternoon?
Yes, I am. And
Okay.
I'm speaking in support of the board resolution 138. I
Miss
feel
Ali,
that,
can you give me one moment? I'm so sorry. Do you just affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
what, I didn't hear. What did she say?
Oh, do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, it would. Yes, I can.
Okay, nice to see you. Please proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. I am speaking in support of board resolution 138. I feel that it is wrong to reappropriate other cultural icon and history in this manner. No one should have the right to disrespect other legends. This is similar to when the early settlers in the region tore down and destroyed the Indian burial mounds that were scattered around St. Louis, all in the name of development. This was wrong. This was the wrong thing to do then, just as it is today. We should be striving to recognize, value, and appreciate each other's culture. And I'll say again, I am in support, and many of my seniors that I work with, and resolution 138. And we want to thank the First Ward Alderman for all the work she have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ali. Alderwoman Green, do you have any questions?
None at this time. Just thank you for being here today.
Alderman Guenther.
No questions, just thank you, Miss Ali, for your work at the Southside Wellness Center. Thank you.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Rice.
No questions, but just hi to everybody down there at the Southside Wellness Center. Good to see you all.
Alderman Todd.
I don't have any questions, but thank you so much, Ali, for giving the principal historical reason for your support of the resolution. And I don't have any other questions,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Alderman. Sure, we will move on back to Daryl Piggy. Mr. Piggy, are you here?
Alderwoman, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you. Do you affirm that your testimony will be the truth today?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman, for the opportunity to address this issue today on behalf of the Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital. We respect the sincerity of those who might disagree with our decision, but we expect and insist the same respect we granted to our board of directors for its good intentions and sincerity in selecting the name. On a very personal note, that applies to me, Daryl Piggy, as well. You see, the decision to invoke the legacy of Homer G. Phillips in connection with this critical hospital was my idea. I'm the one who presented it to Paul McKee, and at his suggestion, I then presented it to the board, of which I'm a member. And I'm proud to do that. Yes, I'm here in part as an attorney to Paul McKee and the hospital board, but I'm here also as a lifelong resident of North St. Louis, a graduate of the St. Louis Public Schools, someone who recognizes the challenges of North St. Louis. You know, as a young person seeking to have a positive impact on our community, the legacy of the 1921 bond issue election, led by Homer Phillips and others, gave us the imagination and determination in the late 1980s to conduct a petition drive for a city audit that led to the first Black mayor. In fact, our present mayor's political destiny can be directly tied to that city audit that Homer G. Phillips inspired. So it was out of this background that I made the recommendation to our board of directors that the hospital be named for this great man. Like the opportunity we had, I would like young people in the 21st century to learn this lawyer's story, his struggles, and the history he made, and dream, as I did, on how they might affect positive change in their community. I respect the value and memories of the original hospital and what it meant, but not at the expense of future dreamers and their dreams. Now, I understand the emotion others feel on this subject, and I respect their right to feel differently than I do. But I must tell you that it's not lost on all of us, the insults that have come our way often come from those who haven't had that shared experience in North St. Louis. I'd ask the chairwoman, my time is short, chairwoman. I have more to say. I think you've seen part of our statement. I wanted to ask the chair if we might, since we're the last of the against, would we perhaps have more time to present this entire statement? I know the Board of Aldermen has it, but I'd like for the public to be able to have the same statement. I'm the last statement against, excuse me, and I'd like to have a little extra time to complete this statement. And I asked the chair for that.
Yes, I appreciate the ask. I just want to be thoughtful of and respectful of everyone's time. I'm giving everyone 3 minutes. And if we have some time at the end, after we go through all the people who have signed up today, I'd be happy to give you another couple of minutes if members of the board are able to stay.
Certainly, Alderwoman. You know, years ago, some of our board members attempted to bring a medical school.
Mr. Piggy, I think maybe you misunderstood me. I'm going to go through all the speakers who signed up. Since I've given everyone 3 minutes, I just want to be fair to everybody. And then if we have some time at the very end of all the speakers, if aldermen are able to stick around, I'd be happy to give you an opportunity to speak again.
Alderwoman, you know, when I asked you a question, I still had about 45 seconds left. Can I reclaim that 45 seconds to finish this last paragraph? I sure appreciate it.
Sure thing. Go right ahead, Mr. Piggy.
Years ago, some of our board members attempted to bring a medical school that specialized in producing doctors from underserved Black and Brown communities. Seeking to expand in the St. Louis area, the medical school needed an affiliation with a local hospital to move forward. None of the existing hospitals in the region were willing to help. By state law, a new hospital in Missouri must start as a 3-bed facility. That is the law. After operating for 1 year, the facility is free to expand to any size. Be clear that it is easier to build and finance a larger hospital than the smaller one prescribed by law. But we follow the law, and the current and required size of the hospital is now being demeaned by those who have no demonstrated track record or have made no private or public efforts to deliver needed healthcare in this underserved community.
That's fine, Mr. Piggy. Thank you so much for being here today. Okay, our next speaker with no position listed is Birdie Chandler. Birdie, are you with us?
We have a statement from her in the drive if she's not on today.
Thank you. I also was trying to figure out how to shut my alarm off, and I should actually ask Aldermen if they have questions for Mr. Piggy. So let me back up. Alderwoman Green, do you have any questions?
I think the one question maybe you can answer is, who is on the board of directors?
I'm unmuted, certainly. I'm a board member, Mr. Fred Mills, Glenn Miller, James Wiley, Dr. David Linehan, and Mr. Paul McKee are the board members of the Honorable Phillips Memorial Hospital. Those are
Okay. And how does one become a board member for the hospital?
Well, I think it's just like any board of directors. There were an original member, an original set of members when the corporation was formed, and with the permission and acceptance of the board of directors, new members are invited and are accepted. So, to the purview of the board. These are the starting members of the board. We've been working on this for a number of years, and definitely happy that we're getting a lot of attention because we want people to know what we're trying to do at the Pruitt-Igoe site and bring a hospital that's going to do a lot to change medical service in North St. Louis. But like any other corporation, the board members serve at the pleasure of the other board members.
So can you tell us then what the community engagement process looked like to arrive at this name?
Certainly. Over a long period of time, I would even say, much more than a year, we talked to a lot of people in the community about this name. Alderwoman Tyus mentioned earlier that I own probably the oldest Black bar in St. Louis, so that was a good testing point to talk to citizens over a year's time on what they thought about it. And most people overwhelmingly were excited about the fact that we were going to pay homage and keep alive the history and and everything that Homer G. Phillips meant. They were happy that young people would get a chance to hear about his story and understand and respect the history. And like I said in my testimony, maybe they would be inspired to serve in the community the way he was. So we talked to literally hundreds of people. Now, there are a lot of people that maybe didn't interact with us, and I respect that. But the idea that that this name was taken without due consideration is simply not true.
I guess the question I have then, was there engagement done outside of your establishment? Surveys, door to door, talking with community groups, like that type of engagement?
Informally, without doubt. I mean, yes.
Okay, so informally, but not a formalized process to sort of understand the community heartbeat around this in a more comprehensive way.
Well, Alderwoman, I mean, when you start talking about the heartbeat of the community, once again, since I'm the speaker, I'll use myself as an example. But my dad went to Sumner High School, my mother went to Vashon High School. I went K through 12 through St. Louis Public Schools along with my brother. We've operated a business in North St. Louis since 1953. We're not everything in North St. Louis, but we're certainly representative of how Black people live and work and think in North St. Louis. So it's not just me, it's not just our board, but there's a diverse view out here on this issue. And I dare say if a poll was taken, most people would either agree with us, or they certainly wouldn't take a hard negative stand like some have chosen to take.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Alderman Guenther?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a couple of questions. So, Mr. Piggy, in your statement that you put out, and you repeated this, you said that by state law, a new hospital in Missouri must start as a 3-bed facility. Is that must start as a minimum of 3 beds, or are you saying that any new hospital in the state of Missouri has to start with 3 beds only?
If you start a new hospital, it has to start. Your certificate of need will be issued for a 3-bed facility. That's state law. Yes, there's, I don't think there's an exception to that rule.
Okay, it's interesting. And then the other question I had is that in the letter that you also sent, that's kind of the letter from the board of directors. You say in there, while we respect the rights of those who disagree with our effort to bring a life-saving facility to a healthcare desert, which we all agree with, it says we have no intentions to re-examine the naming of this hospital. So in that statement from the board of directors, I mean, are you basically saying that that even with the input of the community members, the input from the members of the Ville neighborhood itself, which, you know, I believe are pretty outspoken about how this facility did not get their support for naming it the Homer G. Phillips Center. Your letter from the board of directors basically says you have absolutely no intention of re-examining this name. Is that, are you guys standing by that, or are you willing to rethink that statement?
Well, you know, Alderman, this wasn't taken. This decision was taken after due consideration. It wasn't something that was done on a lark at all. You know, we know we have the due respect for the name, what the hospital represents, what the Ville neighborhood represents. In no manner, in no means, or do we mean any disrespect at all? But at this point, the name of Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital, in the name itself, we are giving honor and paying homage to the original hospital and the neighborhood. That's why we call it Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital. So at this point, we haven't seen a reason to change it. And that's out of respect. It's no disrespect meant at all. But different people have different opinions, and I would hope that they would respect our opinion as much as we respect theirs.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, this is Fred Mills. Could I just speak to Alderman Guenther just for a second to one of his questions?
Sure. Thank you for asking.
There's this whole thing about 3-bed minimum, this and all that. I just wanted to clarify that the state statutes, I believe, says that the 3 beds is a minimum requirement. And I just want to clarify that particular part of that law. There are a lot of plans for the future to do other things, but that's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mills. That clarifies it, because the letter says that it has to start as 3 bedrooms. That's the law. That's what the letter says.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Thank you. My questions have been asked and answered. Thank you.
Alderwoman Rice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Piggy, for being here today and for your statements. I do want to clarify a question that I asked of Mr. Mills on the for-profit, nonprofit status here, because this was something that was discussed at length when we originally passed the incentive project for this, was that at least part of this development was supposed to be a for-profit, and that may be the medical school that is attached to the hospital. And so I want to clarify with you if that is still going forward as a for-profit medical school.
The Ponce Health Services University that is planned to come into St. Louis will continue in its present form. I believe it is a for-profit institution as it operates. So there's no plan for that to change. But
okay, thank you. That is a helpful clarification. Yeah, no further questions from me.
Alderman Todd.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Piggy, and also I know you, my constituent. I don't have any. My statements were not to disrespect you as an individual. As I said in my opening statement, I have not been keeping up with this issue. However, as I said earlier, I still my information was that it was owned and run by Mr. McKee, who I don't know personally. I don't know, have that information neither. So my support was based strictly on the fact that, first of all, I didn't know you were involved in the first place. Let me first say that. I was based on the fact that once I found out that Mr. McKee, who I do not know, was involved, out of principle, I felt and still feel that people from outside our community, since it was in his name and his name was the only one I knew that was involved, that he should have come. But I have to admit, I did not know who all else was involved, and also I didn't know you were involved. So it was out of what I have read about one of the board members, and as I said, and I stand by it, some of the things I did not agree with what he did once I got the information on him. So that's what my decision was based on. Again, you know me, I believe in maximum feasible citizen participation, and as well as the fact that I ran on the platform of citizens driven. I don't need to call the organizations in the area where you live, you know where you live, but my platform was to say that some of the people who whose name are on there are also leaders in the ward, and I had agreed and still agree that I follow the lead of the community groups. And so that's my platform. It's nothing personal, and that's what I ran on, and that's what I stand behind.
Well, thank you, Alderman. I mean, we've known each other for years, and if you do, and knowing me like you do, you know I'm oriented here in the community, and you know I'd probably be the last person that would be involved in trying to sell the community short. You know, and that's not what's going on. You know that we've been involved with Homer G. Phillips since the 80s. I first learned about him as a high school student when we took a trip to Sedalia, Missouri, and Coach Bailey pointed out that Homer G. Phillips was from Sedalia, and he made us see the connection between leaders in rural Missouri and the urban areas could be connected. So that's when I first became aware of him as a high school student in 1973, and I've been following him. We've had a picture of Homer G. Phillips hanging in my bar since 1985. So this is not a new thing. Paul McKee didn't introduce us to the idea of who Homer G. Phillips is. In fact, I think it's the opposite. We introduced into, and I'm thankful to he and the board for I should say, for listening and giving Black people a stake in this hospital. I want people to understand that by them agreeing to honor Homer G. Phillips, that gives the community a stake in this hospital, because I don't think, and I know the board members wouldn't take on a name like that unless they're committed to deal with the healthcare disparities that plague us. And that's why we wanted to name it Homer G. Phillips, because we're repeating 100 years later what Homer Phillips started in 1921. That is bringing a first-class medical facility to North St. Louis to deal with the many health disparities that the recent COVID pandemic has just shown to be even worse than we knew. So we would hope that people would take this in consideration, and instead of fighting us, would work with us to bring this needed healthcare to a community that's been left out and left in the healthcare desert for a long time.
Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Tyus, you're recognized.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Piggy. I wanted you to give me the citation for the state statute, because you and Mr. Mills seem to have a different interpretation of the state statute. You said that it is required that 3 bedrooms that's what you start out. And Mr. Mills said that's just a minimum. So since I'm an attorney myself, I want to read that state statute. Can you give me the citation, please?
Let me more exact. When I came to be on the board, the certificate of need for the 3-bed hospital was already in place. So I'm operating from that as my starting point. So I apologize if I misspoke.
Okay, so then Mr. Mills is right. He is correct in saying that that's a requirement that you have to have at least 3 bedrooms, which is different than you can only start out with 3 bedrooms. Is that correct?
Apologize, Alderwoman. I was speaking from my experience, and when I came on board to this project, the certificate of need was already in place, and we've been forced to move forward with the 3-bed certificate of need that we started. And
okay.
I'm talking about. So if I misspoke, I apologize, and thank you for correcting me.
Okay, and also when you were listing the name of the board of directors, I couldn't hear you that well, so I wanted to make sure that I had the list correctly. Fred Mills, Glenn Miller, James Wiley,
Glenn Mitchell.
Glenn Mitchell. Okay.
Glenn Miller. He was a famous guy, but
I know, and I love his music. I actually like big band music. And is James Wiley? Is it?
James Riley.
Riley.
James Riley.
And then Dr. Moynihan.
Dr. Linehan. David Linehan.
I couldn't hear you. That's why. Okay. And Paul McKee.
Paul McKee is on the board.
And then anybody else?
I'm on the board.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, Piggy. I'm on the board.
Okay. And anyone else?
That's the board right there.
Okay. And how would we get in contact with you? Because I intend to send you a letter when we pass this resolution. So how would we get in contact with your board?
I mean, they can send it to me. Terry, the clerk has our email address, and please do.
Okay, and I know that you had expressed some concerns about that people were minimizing or attacking the board. I've been here since pretty much since this thing started. I did vote in favor of the money for the hospital and or clinic. I've expressed to you personally myself when we were in person that I questioned your use of that name. We've had conversations because we know each other personally for a long time. I am now the longest serving alderperson in the city, and with the congressman gone, the longest serving elected official in the area pretty much, okay? And so I'm not homegrown from the city of St. Louis, but I've been in North St. Louis since 86, and I've been in St. Louis since 78. And my family that I married into is homegrown forever. And my husband was born in the neighborhood, and his father is well known throughout the city of St. Louis as a Sumnerite, as is his mother. And so I tell you that people of difference can differ without trying to demean. I don't demean 3 bedrooms. I don't demean if it was one bed. I welcome all medical facilities that can help. But I do want to caution you that when you said you brought it to Mr. McKee, that one of the things that I asked about was in the Ville area, had they been questioned? And the answer was no. Okay. And then when they wanted to meet with your organization, I want to say to you that if an organization who lives and represents a community, and I see both the committee man and the committee woman from the 4th Ward are people that are here who got elected to represent the community, I kind of find it painful that they will be denied the right to request to meet with your organization. And then I want to just make a statement to you. When you dig in and say, well, we've made that decision and we don't have any thoughts of changing it, I would suggest to you that I have gotten more calls on this from people that I am just shocked at, saying, what a way to go. I love what you're doing, and that my heart will be hardened if you don't listen to the Board of Aldermen for any other kind of things you want from the Board of Aldermen. I will be that person working hard for you all not to get it. And I want to know, did you know that we, the Board of Aldermen, named it the Homer G. Phillips Hospital in the first place? Did you know that?
I imagine, like most things, that are with city government, that the Board of Aldermen in 1937 probably named it. I wistfully thought about when I heard people incorrectly talking about how white people had named it this hospital, and I wondered who named it in 1937. So
And you are correct.
so Alderwoman, I just hope we could concentrate on the important issues here, which are healthcare, the healthcare disparities.
So you're making a speech and I'm gonna cut you off because I am an attorney and that's not my point, because you don't get to decide what's important to me. I've been elected for 30 years and nobody has been put their name on the line more than me, taking any kind of position I wanted to, fought with the very Black newspapers, the Black preachers, the NAACP, and except for being cheated, I've never been beaten. So, and I listen to my community. So when you start telling about what the important issues are, cultural appropriation is an important issue for me. And so you don't get to define that for me. And I know you used to be an attorney and I would do just what you're doing, but let me tell you, I won't let you do that for me. So this is important, and it's important enough that I've gotten contacted, but all these people that I respect, Percy Green, Wally Amusa, Ali Stewart, people all across the community. And I'm not just talking about those people, I'm talking about upper echelon, wealthy Black people called me that I know, doctors and lawyers, and said, my grandparents interned there. I could use political names I want, that called me and I was just shocked and saying, oh, before we could go to the hospitals, this is where we were. And so sometimes what you think as is important for you is not important for the community at large. And I'm just going to ask you this. Have you ever been elected to a position in the city of St. Louis?
Pardon me?
Have you ever been elected to a position in the city of St. Louis?
No.
So then when I don't want you to disrespect that everybody that's on this board got elected, whether they're white or not. And yes, that was white people who got elected back in the 30s, but they did the naming of Homer G. Phillips at the bequest of many Black people who were outraged because that man had been assassinated. And we didn't have Black members back then, but they listened to the community. And that's what we have to do as an elected official. You as a non-elected official don't have to do that, but I'm listening and other people are listening. So I would caution you and still invite you to have a conversation and get your personal feelings, because I heard you say, well, I brought this and I. And whenever you do that as an elected official, that becomes a mistake. And so you're not elected and you're allowed to do that. And you and I've had this conversation before Lacey lost and before Tamika lost, about that your name is not on a ballot. And so you can take positions that are a lot harder than should be what's in the best interest of the community. So I will beg you as a personal friend, we've known each other for a long time, to hear what we're saying and don't get caught up in because Daryl Piggy did it, because maybe you made a mistake. And I as an elected official have had to come back and say, oh, I made a mistake. And I would implore you to listen and hear what this board says and what this committee says, and maybe think, even though I thought this was a good idea, maybe it wasn't. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Tyus. I'm going to check one more time to see if Bertie Chandler wanted to testify. I think she may have popped on in a group at Southside Wellness. Bertie. Okay, our next speaker is Phyllis Allen. Are you with us, Phyllis?
I'm sorry, we're here at Southside Wellness. And who was the person that you were trying to get?
I called Bertie.
Bertie?
No, he's not here.
Okay, he's not here. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries at all. Phyllis Allen.
She's not here as well.
Okay, James Buchanan.
Buchanan? No. No, he's not here as well.
Okay, thank you. Laura Cohn. I don't think Laura's a part of your group.
Excuse me?
Yeah. We can, Southside can go off mic now. We found our speaker and we'll get right back to you. Sure thing. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to quickly say thank you to Alderwoman Tyus for introducing this resolution. I think, you know, like many of the speakers, having additional medical services in North St. Louis is not the issue. I mean, I think I certainly support that, but I think the naming is a tremendous mistake, and certainly hope that it will be reconsidered by those who have the ability to change the name, and appreciate the board considering this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. If any members of the committee have questions for Laura, would you please raise your hand? Seeing none, we will move on to our next speaker, who is Grace Cosby. Grace Cosby. Julia Allen is next. Is there a Julia Allen here? Sheila Steed. Sheila Steed. Next up is Wanda Trotter. Oh, she sent in a written comment. I apologize. Richard White. Richard White. Gary Taylor. Gary Taylor.
I see Gary.
Yes. Okay, she's coming up right now.
You got Gary Taylor on there?
Yes.
Okay, I agree with the resolution.
Mr. Taylor, I apologize. Southside, did you have somebody that you were trying to bring up?
Here's Jerry. What's your name?
Pardon me, Mary Carroll.
Oh, you said, okay. Did you
Okay,
say Mary Carroll?
Gary Taylor right now.
No, say Gary Taylor. Okay.
Thanks so much for your patience with us. Appreciate it. Mr. Taylor, do you affirm that you will, your testimony will be the truth today?
Yes.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Thanks so much. Please proceed.
I agree with the resolution. I was born at home G. Phillips. I lived not too far from where they considering or what they have built now. I grew up on Howard Avenue between Jefferson and Elliott. I lived there for the first 20 years of my life. I lived there when there was a lot of Black people in the area. One thing I've heard so far about this quote hospital is that it's for the community. And I've been on Thomas and Dayton and looked from Jefferson almost all the way up to Grand. And I see 2 or 3 houses, a lot of empty lots. And I figure, where is the community that this place is supposed to help? No one asked me about it. And I love my Black community. Like I say, I grew up there 20 years, and I disagree wholeheartedly with naming it after Homer G. Phillips, who was, to me, a hero. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you so much for being here today and for your testimony. If any members of the committee have questions for Mr. Taylor, would you please raise your hand? Okay, do we want to bop back to Southside Wellness? Did you have somebody who you thought was supposed to be on the list? Hi there, what's your name?
Yes, Reverend Kevin Kosh. I'm the pastor of the Beloved Community United Methodist Church.
I don't believe you signed up for testimony today.
Yes.
Did you sign up with our clerk?
The name, then yes.
Okay, I'm going to check with the clerk on that because I don't have the name. And I had a couple people ask me to testify and I said no if they hadn't signed up in time. So Let me check on that really quickly and we'll move on to, let's see, where are we? Gloria Barnett. Is there a Gloria Barnett? Patricia Dees.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm here.
Nice to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to be here today. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oops.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patricia Dees, and I am a resident of the 5th Ward and also president of St. Louis Place Community Neighborhood Association. I am in agreement with the resolution, and the reason being is just pretty much what everybody else has stated. I have lived here in the area. I'm a newbie. I've only been down here for maybe 8 years. I battle lupus. So I am definitely in need of some medical care or urgent care or emergency room or any of that within the area. I welcome that. Right now, if I have a flare or episode where I need medical attention, I'm either going up to St. Louis U, or I'm going over to St. Mary's. So I would love to be able to drive down the street. My issue is the name. We're not trying to negate anybody coming into our neighborhood to offer some assistance, but you cannot come into our neighborhood and not show us any type of respect. The name Homer G. Phillips Hospital or the name Homer G. Phillips carries great, how do I want to say it, honor, carries a lot of great and fond memories for those that work there, those that visited there. It holds a special place in a lot of people's heart. And when you don't see that and you take that away, that causes it's another form of trauma. I have had so many people come to me and say, what are we going to do as a neighborhood or community association to fight this? And it's a simple name change. We're not asking you to move it, tear it down. We're not being disrespectful of the facility. Like I stated earlier, we welcome the facility. It's the name change. It's so many other great African Americans, even the land that it sits on. You could have chose to name it after that particular individual. It's so many other African American individuals that could have garnered that honor, whose name could have been on that hospital, than to take away a piece of history and name the hospital Homer G. Phillips. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much for your testimony. If any members of the committee have a question or comment, would you please raise your hand? Our next speaker is Crystal Bailey. Crystal Bailey. Annie Hamilton. Is there an Annie Hamilton with us? Sharon Shannon. Sharon Shannon. Percy Green. Nice to see you today, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
The truth and the whole truth, so help me God and all of that? Yes.
Thank you so much. Please proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, well, I probably won't use all of it. I just want to be on record in that I strongly support the resolution number 138, and I encourage all others to support it. I visualize here that at least two errors in judgment has been made. One by Darrell Piggy and his recommendation not being thorough enough prior to making such. And I also think it's an error in judgment on behalf of Paul McKee and not making sure that the recommendation was sound based upon his reputation, his negative reputation in the community. And that's all I have to say about that. I just reiterate that I strongly support the resolution of Resolution 138 and strongly support and strongly encourage others to do the same.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Do any committee members have any questions or comments? Alderman Guenther?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just had to take a quick opportunity to say thank you, Percy Green, for your work. You're an icon in St. Louis. So thank you for being here today. And one day we'll name something after you for sure. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's awful kind of.
Our next speaker is Michelle Bolton. Michelle Bolton. Yvonne Jones. Yvonne Jones.
Here I am.
Wait. Oh, hello. Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Yvonne Jones. I am the current president of the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni Incorporated. I was born at Homer G. Phillips June 5th, 1947. I graduated from Homer G. Phillips School of Nursing in 1968. We were the last class. We, the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni Incorporated, overwhelmingly support the resolution that Sharon Tyus has provided to change the name of the hospital located on Jefferson. Homer G. Phillips Hospital is 2600 North Whittier. It has been recognized as Forest Park History Museum. It's recognized at the Vashon History Museum on St. Louis Avenue, and it's recognized at the Black History Museum in Washington, D.C. at 2600 North Whittier. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Do any members of the committee have questions or comments? Alderwoman Rice?
Thank you. Ma'am, and I think she may have sat down. If she was willing to take a question. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great, wonderful. Thank you so much for your testimony. And I did have a question. When you went to nursing school at Homer G. Phillips, did you have to pay to do that, or what was that arrangement to go through that school?
Homer G. Phillips School of Nursing was a diploma program.
Okay.
And the whole course was $365 at that time, at which my mom had a hard time paying for it because she cleaned offices downtown. And most of the nurses that graduated from Homer G. Phillips came from the South because they were not allowed to attend schools there. So that's why Homer G. Phillips is so overwhelmingly known in the South.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Jamala Rogers.
Here.
Are you logged on in just one place?
I am logged on.
Okay, great. It's nice to see you. Thanks for taking the time to be here today. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
I want to thank the committee and particularly Alderwoman Sharon Tyus for the resolution. I'm on behalf of the Organization for Black Struggle, we will submit the full content of the written testimony, but I only think the appropriate thing to mention today is that there's no question about the need for health care and medical services on the north side. I think for us, it is a question of the reputation of Paul McKee in the north side. And I just, I think all the persons here remember Board Bills 171 and Board Bills 242 that have all to do with the code violations and the slum landlords that Paul McKee has shown himself to be. So the question that we have is, if there's no respect for the community on the name process and the history of Paul McGee, then what kind of medical services can we really expect for the consumer in that area and those that will be coming to partake of medical services? And we are a firm believer in the words of our sister Maya Angelou, if a person shows you who they are, believe them. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Any comments or questions from members of the committee? Okay, our next speaker is Jay Ozier. Jay Ozier. Wally Amusa. Wally Amusa.
This is Wally Amusa.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Yeah, my name is Wally Amusa. I've been a St. Louis City resident since 1972, almost 50 years. And all those 50 years I have spent in North St. Louis. I'm the co-chair of the Campaign for Human Dignity, the organization that took the lead in mobilizing the community to save Honorable Phillips Hospital back in 1979, and actually did put on a ballot 2 initiative petitions that garnered almost 58%, but not the required 60% that was needed to reopen the hospital. I think what we're dealing with here is what we call stealing a people's legacy. Whenever you have a developer that has such a horrible record that thinks that he can go into any community, hire anybody, and use them to steal the legacy of a community, and then be so arrogant that when he's invited to the community to come and speak and explain to people, he refused to show up. So I would like to thank Alderwoman Sharon Tyus and the many other aldermen on the board who are co-sponsors of this resolution. I'm speaking in support of the resolution. I think what is at stake here is whether people like Paul McKee would disregard the opinion of the mayor of the city, the comptroller of the city, the congresswoman, for this particular region, and dozens of other political, religious, and civic leaders, and just say he doesn't care about what they think. He's going to steal that name. He's going to trademark that name. Let's just think about that for a minute. A developer taking a name that is an icon in the Black community and talking about he is going to trademark that.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, thank you. He's going to trademark that, and then he's going to disregard what anybody else says. So the question for Mr. McKee today is this. If the Board of Aldermen were to pass this resolution and call on Mr. McKee to basically essentially change the name, will he respect the wishes of the governing body in this city, or will he continue to ignore the fact that it is not about whether people want healthcare or not, it's about misappropriation, it's about a private entity, because Mr. McKee is the owner of that facility. It's about a private entity basically expropriating onto himself the legacy of African Americans in this community without consultation, in total disregard of the wishes of all the key organizations and political and religious leaders who think Mr. Piggy made a mistake. And it's not too late for Mr. Piggy to advise his client that he think he had made a mistake. And
Thank you so much for your testimony. Do any members of the committee have questions or comments for Mr. Musa?
I think his video froze in the middle of that comment. It looks like, yeah, I think we lost him there at the end.
Okay, well, he was at time.
corrected. So I support it.
Mr. Musa,
Yes, ma'am.
your time is up, but you did cut out at the end. You wouldn't just make one last statement to close out?
Misappropriation, we're dealing with stolen legacies, and the history of African Americans in this country is full of the contributions, the achievements, and legacies of Black people being stolen by different people, you know, and what we're dealing with here is a developer that has a horrible record in the city of St. Louis, thinking that he can use an African American in our community to represent him as he steals the legacy of African Americans in this community. And I support the resolution, and I call on the Board of Aldermen and the various political leaders in our community to make a very simple request for Mr. McKee to please change the name.
Thank you so much. Questions or comments for Mr. Musa? Our next speaker is Ed McFarland. Ed, I see you on the screen. Are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I apologize.
No worries. Nice to see you. Do you affirm that your testimony will be the truth today?
I do.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay. I think it's very informative having this forum today. You get you get both sides of the issue. I think the most important thing here, which has been shared by most of the people, is that taking the legacy out of the Fourth Ward. I was born at Homer Phillips. I grew up a block from Homer Phillips my whole life. I know Homer Phillips as the primary care facility in North St. Louis, or in St. Louis, period. And taking the name is just like taking the, you're taking part of what makes North St. Louis, and the Fourth Ward, the Fourth Ward. It was as if you would take the Bevo Mill, windmill, and put it on St. Louis Avenue in Vanderbilt and call this area the Bevo Mill. You can't take the history of a place and put it in another place. And I just feel that, to me, there's no question. I heard what Mr. Piggy said, and I understand his point of view, and he has the right to have that point of view. I don't argue with that at all, but this is our hood, this is ours, we're still here, and we stayed here to preserve what we have here. And I think that anyone, be it Mr. McKee, be it President Biden, be it whoever, to come and remove and decimate our legacy, our history, I think is totally wrong. So I also ask Mr. McKee, Mr. Piggy, and everybody on that board to reconsider. This doesn't have to be a fight, you know. To
1 minute,
me,
sir.
right? To me, it's a no-brainer. I understand the reasoning after listening to Darrell why they're doing what they're doing, but when you see that that there is opposition, there shouldn't even be a fight. There shouldn't even be a conversation. You know, it should speak for itself. That that can be the center to help people, but it doesn't have to have that name. It doesn't have to desecrate the name of Homer Phillips and that legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions or comments for the speaker? Our next speaker is Caroline Moore. Caroline, are you here?
Yes, I am. Had a lot of connection issues, but I am sitting in my car. I couldn't miss this.
We can hear you and see you crystal clear. Thanks for being here today. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
First of all, I would like to thank Alderwoman Tyus for presenting this resolution in the history also that she provided for us. To me, that helped everyone that did not know the history of Mr. Homer G. Phillips to understand one of the reasons why this is very important to the Ville. I have been a resident of the Ville since 1952. I am currently the 4th Ward Committee woman. And I participate in the community a lot. I did not hear anything about this. I follow social media. I did not hear anything about this. I want to commend the 5th Ward for having this great institution and healthcare in North St. Louis. Because of Homer G. Phillips, I have almost 50 years in healthcare. So it is very important to North St. Louis, period, to have healthcare. My issue is the name. Mr. Phillips, unfortunately, did not see the fruition of his hard work because he was murdered right in North St. Louis, which is very unfortunate. And unfortunately, that still continues today. My issue is the name. In my research, I saw that the name of this facility was originally Northside Urgent Care Hospital. And it did not give any information as to why it was changed to Homer G. Phillips. So thank you, Mr. Piggy, for giving the history that the name was changed. Now, I've heard a couple on the board refer to it as Homer G. Phillips Memorial Hospital. As of yesterday, it was Homer G. Phillips Hospital. So I'm kind of feeling like there's a play with words when you add memorial as to imply that you're honoring Mr. Homer G. Phillips. I don't think so. And with hearing the comments about how it was presented to the Board of Aldermen, it sounds as though, to me, I could be wrong, this is my interpretation, my analysis, that the name was thought of after the board approved the project.
You have 30 seconds, ma'am.
Thank you. So because of that, I really, really hope and pray that consideration be taken to change it to something else, as perhaps Wendell Pruitt. It's built on Pruitt-Igoe. To me, why not add him as a name instead of Homer G. Phillips? Again, I am in favor and support the great work of Alderwoman Tyus. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Caroline Moore? Okay, I'm going to circle back. I see Dan Simon on here now. Dan, were you interested in testifying? You signed up, but I called your name early. Okay, we will go.
Yes. Hello.
Oh, hello, there you are.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. We can hear you and see you. Do you testify that or affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
I am just overwhelmed with the community support for Alderwoman Tyus's bill, and I can't add to any of this. I won't repeat anything that I've heard. But I do want to say that nurses across St. Louis are standing in solidarity with this resolution, and the name needs to change. So thank you for having this hearing and letting everyone testify, and hopefully we can get this name changed. I hope that pulling on McKee's heartstrings will work, because I think that's the only thing that we got right now. But it's not right, and nurses are standing in solidarity with this resolution. Thank you.
I'm assuming that means you're a nurse.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's see here. Next up, Hassie Davis. Is there a Hassie Davis with the Southside Wellness Group by chance?
I'm not with the Southside Wellness Group. I'm with
oh, I see you. I'm so sorry. I see you now. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
I do. I would say that when I signed up, I did not want to speak, but I will say that since I am given the opportunity to speak, I will say that this has been a very important facility in the community for a long time. And it garners pride for African-American people, as well as people all across St. Louis and all across the nation, as it should. I have a long-standing history with Homer G. Phillips, and that I was a part of a youth group back in 1980 that helped in the struggle to try and keep Homer G. Phillips open. That's how important this was, that young people at that time knew that this was a legacy. This was our legacy. And to remove the name or put the name on some other facility is disingenuous. It makes it seem as if that facility was the historic facility that was created in the African-American community by an African-American man. And all that struggle with African-American people who could not work or be educated in some other facility got that education from that African-American facility and carried that with pride. And now, the name is just going to be slapped onto some other facility, and generations forward might think that that was the original facility, and they won't know the history. They won't be able to look back and see that facility that was created in the North Side and know the history, and maybe even envision the people who went into that facility and put their blood, sweat, and tears into that facility. So I think it's disingenuous to call some other facility newly created, whether it's going to be 3 beds or whatever. It's disingenuous to call this newly created facility Homer G. Phillips when it's not.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Hassie Davis? The next person up to testify is Dr. Emma Crocker.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi there. Do you affirm that your testimony today will be the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
My name is Emma Crocker. I'm a resident of the 16th Ward, and I support Alderwoman Tyus's Resolution 138. I was born at St. John's Hospital. I graduated from the University of Missouri, St. Louis with a bachelor's and graduate degree in nursing. I work at a community clinic in the North City of St. Louis. My expertise is based in population health. And in order to ensure our community businesses prosper and our community health outcomes improve, we must begin any development or project with formal, respectful, documented outreach and engaging conversations with all community members, especially those who served their fellow community members through generations at Homer G. Phillips Hospital. Per many community leaders, this outreach was not done, and our community has suffered and will continue to suffer because of Mr. McKee and his board, and they must acknowledge this real harm that they have ensued on our community. Mr. McKee, Mr. Piggy, Mr. Mills, please stop the disrespect. Please change the name. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony today. Any comments or questions? Our next speaker is Kayla Vaughn. Kayla Vaughn. Pamela Bush. Pamela Bush. Kate-Trude Palmer. Kate-Trude Palmer. That's everybody. Does anybody's name I called previously here now that would like to testify? As long as you signed up, I can let you testify. Okay, Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized to close.
Madam Chairwoman, if I could just invite any of the folks from Southside Wellness who have written testimony that they were going to speak today, if they could email that in, then we can make sure that we have it for our committee and for the rest of the board to read, since they weren't able to testify today.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Did you hear that at Southside? Feel free to email our clerk the testimony so that board members get a copy of it.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Alderwoman Tyus, you're recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. I'm not a good texter. I'm more of an email person, but my phone has been ringing and pinging the entire time from the Mound City Bar saying, why weren't we included in this? We support you. I mean, it is overwhelming. Sometimes when you are younger and you think you are doing the right thing, you don't know what the past generation has gone through to get things done. And so I have been so fortunate in my career. I can live where I want to. But me and my husband my husband is from Kingsway East. He was born there. His grandfather bought a house back in the 50s when Black people first could. And so I've been so fortunate that I live in North St. Louis because I want to, and I'm proud to live there. And I'm a fierce defender of North St. Louis. Anybody that don't know that, haven't watched Sharon Tyus in the last 30 years. And I've been elected when I didn't want to be. Bill Clay Sr. came and got me. The godfather of politics came and got me. John Bass came and got me. Jet Banks. I didn't want to do this, okay? That wasn't what I wanted to do. But they convinced me over a time to run. And once I learned the neighborhoods and the richness of the community, I was sold. And nobody, not cheating, not anything else, could ever make me let go of my community. And I got to get a good education from Washington University. I want to thank you. But one of the things I was taught is when you get an education, you put that back, especially as a young Black person, you put that back in the community and you fight for your community. And a lot of times older Black people, they don't have people to do that. I watched the nurse who's one of the original people from the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Association. I've watched Percy Green for years, Jamala, just all these people. I am in awe of them. So there's tears in my eyes because I respect these people so much. And they're not on the Board of Aldermen, but Sharon Tyus is. So I have to listen when Ollie Stewart calls me up and say, we need you to do this. You know, even when I don't want to, I end up doing some of the stuff because That's what I'm here for. To hear the doctor who lives over, I'm sorry, Dr. Crocker, thank you so much, because it does take a village of people across the city to talk about these issues. And you were so good. Both the committee man and the committee woman from the 4th Ward were here. The Alderwoman from the 4th Ward is a co-sponsor of this. That's the community. And these are the people. And so sometimes you have to listen. And I'm saying this, so I want Mr. Piggy to hear this. You may personally be up in your feelings, but your feelings don't outweigh that of the community. So I got a text from Gerald Christmas, who's over at the Southside Wellness Center, saying, you know, I'm at the Southside Wellness Center. Homer G. Phillips was a founding member of the Mound City Bar and past president of the National Bar Association. Mound City should have been part of the conversation. The conversation was too small. When you make a mistake, actually changing a name is not a great thing to do. Admitting that you've made a mistake and that you have to have more different kind of conversations is the making of a great person. I do not believe that you had any nefarious reason that you would want to do this. I just think you made a mistake. I got into my career because a Domino's Pizza wanted to be by my house, and they fought and they did put that Domino's Pizza by my house, but it was a mistake. And it wasn't until the owner of that facility moved his family into that up above that he called me up and said, everything you said was the truth, because then he felt what my community felt. Although you may have been in the community for a long time, you are not part of the Ville community. And so taking and appropriating names, because I'm not going to go into what I think of Paul McKee, because I still am appreciative that Paul McKee wants to build a health center or a hospital. I am glad that we cleared up that they didn't have to just have 3 bedrooms, because that has been a misinformation that has been put out in the community. And whenever you do that kind of thing, I'm always going to be that person that says, give me the citation so I can read it myself. Thank you, Washington University School of Law, because I know how to do research myself if I had to. So I don't give any nefarious motivation to not either Mr. Piggy or to Mr. McKee. He does have some, Mr. McKee has had some problem with his development, and that his reputation is his own that he built. But if he's listening, or some of the other board members, don't let Daryl Piggy, when he says, I did this, make you think that he is speaking for the Black community or for the community at large, Black and white, because he is not. He is speaking for his feelings as Daryl Piggy. He's not elected. He's not the mayor. He's not the comptroller. He's not Corey Bush, who is the got elected as the congressperson. He's not the alderwoman who's been here for 30 years. He's not the various alder people who are elected. He is Daryl Piggy. And yes, he gets a vote, but he also should be the person who could say, I made a mistake. This is a mistake. I would ask this board to listen to all of these people. That's what we're supposed to do, is listen to people. They came out here in the middle of the day. Many of them are seniors. They had to deal with what I didn't. I actually was born in Brownsville, Tennessee, in a little hospital called Haywood County Hospital, the first person in my family to be born in a hospital. They didn't let Black people where I was born be born upstairs. So I was born actually in the basement. My grandmother was so happy that I was born in a hospital, because all her children had been delivered by a midwife. So when I look at all these people here, I see my grandparents, I see my great grandparents, I see a history that I am called to respect and to honor. And how I respect and honor them is that when I see people like this coming out and saying, I don't like this, this is not fair, this is not right, I don't want you to take that name, this is something I'm proud of. I know still the feelings that my grandparents had, and I know how I felt about the Annie Malone. I'm still furious about Annie Malone, because how dare you take that away from the Ville neighborhood? How dare you almost close down Sumner? We have been culturally appropriating things from Black neighborhoods for years, not just Black neighborhoods. If you go to Africa, a lot of this stuff that we had appropriated from Africa. At some point, we have to stop that. This is the point with that name. It is not anything that would kill this hospital. And as I said before, I was supportive when a lot of other people didn't think that the money should have been spent, but I was. But I am not supportive of culturally appropriating names. And I'm hoping that Mr. Piggy will take that message back. If he doesn't, I'm asking this esteemed committee to please pass this out with a do pass recommendation. I would ask you if you would go to, what is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a place in here that talks about who supports it. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's the 12th paragraph. And as I said before, I put the Honorable Carla May's name in there. She is always going to be the kind of person that would support this, but she didn't give me her permission. Somebody else gave me her name. I'd ask if we would strike her name out of that before we pass this out, just because that's my mistake and I won't do that again. But did have a conversation with her today. She understands what we're doing. She feels like this is something local. So other than that, I think this is a great resolution. It speaks to a history. I learned just by doing the research about even more things about Homer G. Phillips than I've ever known before. And I would ask that you pass this out with a do pass recommendation to the full board so that we can then write a letter to Mr. McKee and the board, and we can ask them to come in and have a conversation with us. And if they don't, because they don't have to, don't come and have a conversation with us about any more money, about anything you want. Because if you disrespect the community and the Board of Aldermen, then you should have all your own money and you shouldn't be looking for TIFs, tax abatements, or anything, because I'm going to be the person leading it against it if you do not come and have a conversation with us. I want you to know that. I want you to know that. And I'm perfectly willing to have political fights with people, but you cannot disrespect a community and then the Board of Aldermen. And then this thing about white people gave that name, they gave it because Black people asked them to. And that's the white people here today is because Black people asked them to be here. So you have to deal with who's elected at the time. And that was who was elected. And I think that I want to appreciate all the people who put their name. I think we pretty much got most of the committee's name on that. I'm appreciative. And again, please pass this out with a do pass recommendation. And I'm honored to have stood up for the people who have stood up in the past for me so that I could have a right to do this.
Thank you so much, Alderwoman. Madam Clerk, would you please make note of the scrivener's error and remove Senator Carla May from the draft of the resolution?
So noted.
Thank you. And Alderwoman Martin also asked to be added as a co-sponsor. She had to leave the meeting early. Alderman Tyus, thank you so much for bringing this to the Health and Human Services Committee. I admire the number of folks who came out from the community today. I always really value hearing from people and really appreciate, I know all of us do on this committee, you taking time out of your busy schedules to let us know your thoughts and feelings on issues. We don't see it enough, and this was really well attended and very appreciated. And with that, I would entertain a motion to pass resolution number 138 out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
Make a motion to pass out resolution 138 with the do pass recommendation.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Guenther.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Chairwoman Ingrassia.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
Congratulations, Alderwoman Tyus, and thanks again for your time today.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a good day. Thanks everybody from Southside and Ollie Stewart and everybody that came, Percy and everybody. I appreciate you guys. And I will always do what you tell me to do. Most of the time anyway.
All right, I think we can move to adjourn. We don't have any further agenda items. Entertain a motion?
I make
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Take care, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.